Are you ready to navigate the new way to work? Forbes Books presents Dare to Care in the Workplace with Kathleen Quinn Botaw. Here's Kathleen.
Welcome back to my conversation with Clint Pulver, the author of I Love It Here, How Great Leaders Create Organizations Their People Never Want to Leave. We've been talking about his work as a keynote speaker, workforce expert, and undercover millennial. Clint, you wrapped up the first half of our discussion with your 5 C's of being a great mentor. I'm a very big fan of your 5th C, caring. My book, Dare to Care in the Workplace, is all about caring. But caring is the hardest one because it's such an emotional component of being a mentor. How can we help managers in great companies care more deeply?
That's a great question. You'll remember this, Kathleen, from the event. But I was a kid in school that really had a hard time sitting still. I still have a hard time sitting still. And I would just move all the time. I would tap. Everybody saw the problems, the limitations. I just couldn't sit still as a kid. And I had a teacher that told me to stay after class. And I thought I was getting kicked out of school. I mean, I had already been sent to the principal's office. I knew I was on the list. I was teased. I was called the tapper. I was called the twitcher because I just couldn't sit still. And this teacher told me to stay after class, and he pulled me to the back and he sat down and he said, Clint, listen, you tap. Okay, you tap a lot. You do it in my class, you do it in everybody else's class. He said, but I've watched you though. And you'll sit there and you'll write with your right hand and then you'll tap with your left hand. And then you'll switch the pen and you'll write with your left hand and then you'll tap with your right hand. And he said, I think you're ambidextrous.
Cool.
And I said, no, I'm Presbyterian. And he said, no. He said, try this. He said, can you tap your head and rub your belly? And I could do it. And he said, now switch it. He said, can you rub your head and then tap your belly? Then tap your head and rub your belly. And back and forth, I could do it without thinking about it.
I can't even say it, Clint.
Yeah. And he leaned back in his chair and he said, I don't think you're a problem. I just think you're a drummer. And he reached back in his desk and he opened up the top drawer and he reached inside and he took out my very first pair of drumsticks. And he created a moment that really represented 2 things. It represented my potential and it also kind of represented my worth. And he communicated it in a way that I saw that within myself. And time again, in our undercover research, we saw that element be the most significant way that employees felt cared for. They always associated it with moments. Moments. I believe that a single moment in time can change a person's life. And
Agreed.
That moment that Mr. Jensen created changed mine. I never, in the 10,000 employees, Kathleen, that I interviewed, 10,000 plus now, I've never had an employee ever tell me, like, you know, I love this company because they're just so good at time management. Like I love this company because they're just so good at running meetings. Nobody talks about that. Like, no, I never had one employee say that when they would say, I love it here. And I asked them why, like, tell me, like, why, what keeps you here? They always described moments where the mentor got to the part about them. And it was through these distinct opportunities to create potential and worth in your people, and to show them the possibilities, to show them that they're valued, and then to customize it. Right? I talk about 6 foundations of recognition in the book. I talk about the power of a growth development plan and where employees want to go and how these managers and mentors created the path for them to succeed. And it comes down to advocacy and then creating moments where that advocacy can be seen and felt to the employees.
Very well said. Very well said. And, you know, I hope more managers strive to be this mentor manager because, you know, seeing those moments, you know, kind of when you see something, say something, like when you're at the airport, you know, sometimes we're stuck in our own world, especially leaders who are tired. And there's a lot of burnout right now.
Yep.
They're not seeing the beauty of it all. They're not seeing the potential. They're not even recognizing the moments. So part of our work and your work is to make sure that they can identify those moments and then do something with them.
Agreed. And I dedicated a whole chapter about this in the book, just called Keep It Simple, how to simplify your life a little as a leader, because the resounding tone in leadership, I think, especially now, is that we're busy. We're busy. I'm busy. I'm busy. You go to any
And burned out.
Yeah, and I'm tired. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I'm overworked. I'm busy. I'm stressed. I'm burnt out. And I think for the last 5 years, there's been, in our industry, Kathleen, there's been a big push for, culture and engagement and, employee retention and loyalty and purpose and passion in the workplace. I think the next 5 years, there's going to be a resounding trend of boundaries and time affluence, right? How do we get more of that as a leader?
Define time affluence.
Like the ability, so instead of creating a to-do list, how do you create a to-don't list?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How do we learn to say no to things so that we can say yes to the things that really matter? Creating boundaries, creating systems that allow you to stay more organized. It allows you to create a boundary where if something comes up, instead of it just, I'm just going to handle it right now, we stay true to a schedule, because the schedule is what allows us to connect. There's a lot of different ways I think that we can do, even in just, my goodness, even in a company's vision and mission statement. That was my highest statistic as the Undercover Millennial. 98% of all employees that I interviewed and asked undercover to tell me that, like, the company vision or the company values. Like, do you know what they are? 98% of all employees could not tell me what those were.
That's a shame. Such a shame. But what you're talking about is having, Marcus Buckingham talks about something like that too. And he was on my podcast as well. He talks about making a list, a simple list of what do you love and what do you loathe. Yep. And having some real definition around do more of what you love. In his book, Love and Work, he talks about do more of what you love. In your book, you dare to use the word, I love it here. And love is a big part of work because we spend most of our hours at work. So we have to love what we do, and we do have to create those boundaries.
Yeah, I talk about at the very end of the book, I call them the 3 Ps. I worked in the corporate world.
You love consonants, don't you?
I do. I am kind of a I was miserable kind of in my job. And I remember a mentor of mine when I was in the corporate workplace, he shared with me a quote by Oscar Wilde. And the quote is, "To live is the rarest thing in the world. For most people merely exist, and that is all." And that quote, honestly, Kathleen, haunted me throughout my whole corporate work experience, because I felt like I was not truly living. Every day I was kind of existing. I was kind of going through the motions. I jumped into this job because it was the higher paying opportunity. It had the benefits, the 401k plan. It had the stability. It was kind of the safe and practical way of doing things. And I was not happy. And I sat down with 2 of my buddies and I said, wouldn't it be crazy if you could find a job that allowed you to do these 3 Ps, these 3 things? And number 1 was it allowed you to do what you were passionate about, something that you innately enjoyed. If you had 3 hours on a Saturday, you would do this. This is something you follow on Instagram, something that you'd watch YouTube videos about. If it innately played to what you loved. But second, what if it could also provide? And that's the second P, provide, in a way that was sufficient for you. Because if we just talk about passion and fun and doing what you love and strengths and all that's fine, but at the end of the day, and the reality of it is, if you want to live as a responsible human being, you've got bills to pay. Life is expensive. And if you're doing what you love, but you can't feed your family, or you can't put a roof over your head, or you can't take your kids to Disneyland or put braces or all, whatever it is that matters to you on the monetary sense, then I feel like you're just surviving. You're not thriving. And so the providing equation is important as well. So what if it could provide in a way that's sufficient for you? And I think that key phrase is sufficient for you, because I come from the music world, and some musicians are okay living in a 1-bedroom apartment in New York City, living their dream, gigging on the weekends. Other people want to have a family and they want a little better lifestyle and a bigger home, and I shouldn't say better, because there is no better or worse. It's just whatever's sufficient for you. And then the third P is purpose. What if you could do something at work that allowed you to I don't know, do something bigger than yourself, that it had an element of significance to it, not just success? So those 3 Ps: passion, the ability to provide, and purpose. And I posed that to my 2 buddies, and they kind of said, I just don't know if that totally exists.
But you found it, Clint, didn't you?
I did. And 2 weeks after that, I quit my job and I jumped into the industry that I'm in full time. And the day I quit my job was the day I truly started living. And I found that as well in my research, that these organizations that created opportunities for people to thrive, not just survive, when they created a work environment where people didn't just love the job, but they actually loved who they were at the job. That was powerful to me. And I related to those people because I had gone through the same experience and had found it. And they were living their passions. They were able to provide, and they also had a sense of purpose in their job. And so those 3 Ps, I think, are crucial in creating a significant workplace, not just a successful one.
And indeed powerful. And one of the things you do really, really well that I observed in May, and I've only known Clint for like 4 weeks now, you are fun. You bring the fun. My husband says to me all the time, don't forget to bring the fun, because I can get intense sometimes, but you bring the fun all the time. You're a professional drummer. You were with Blue Man Group, right? You were an actor. Now you're a keynote speaker. You're the Energizer Bunny up there. So where does all this fun come from?
I think it's just innately doing what you love. I think that comes through for me in playing to those. I think I found something that allows me to play to my passion. It allows me to provide, and I have a high sense of purpose in this job, and that fuels the energy, that fuels the passion. And I think it's been fun to, like, when the light bulb clicks on for people, there's nothing more impactful for me that when you see the light bulb go on for that one manager that's just burnt out, or that one person that's just, they're tired, they're on the edge, and they come after the keynote and they go, I'm going to live differently because of what you said, or this is exactly what I needed to flip the switch, or I don't know. And so I believe that my ability to impact is very much related to my ability to perform and to energize, and to, how can I get somebody excited if I'm not excited? How can I get somebody to be passionate about something if I'm not passionate about it?
Very well said. You got to tell us, though, what was it like to play the barrel on Blue Man Group covered in blue paint?
Yeah, so I actually wasn't a blue man. I played the drum set for the show.
Oh, you weren't covered in blue paint.
I wasn't. You have to be.
Thank God.
Yeah, you have to be 6 feet tall to be a blue man, and they're actually more of actors than they are drummers, to be honest. The guys in the back, the band that supports Blue Man, like those are they're all musicians, but those are they're playing the actual intricate musical notes, where a lot of the Blue Men are just they're playing 16th notes, pretty simple drum stuff. Many of them weren't drummers before they were Blue Men, and they were taught how to play the drums. They were better actors, or had an acting or theater background. And so I played the drum set for the show. So I was the touring drummer for that show, and it was amazing. It was a sweet spot in my life.
I was just picturing you covered in blue paint, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a commitment to be covered in blue paint every night.
This hybrid mix of grease paint that they put on them, that it's just, it is quite the ordeal every night.
Great show, but my goodness, it's
Yes.
amazing.
Yeah.
So when I heard you speak at the in May, you talked a lot about your mom. Can you tell us a little bit more personally about your relationship there and how important it has been to you?
Yeah, both my mom and my dad. My mom, man, so many life lessons. I kind of often describe my mom as that's why I guess you could call her, the controller maybe. She's a little higher on standards. My dad was always a big advocator, a little more higher on the connection side of things. A lot of my musical connection and background comes from my dad, but my
Hmm.
discipline and consistency and drive comes from my mother. Um,
Hmm.
but they were both just very intricate roles in my life, and it was a great balance as a kid, to have the standards and the connection from both of them. But they were both big supporters of my music and my career. They've been huge instrumental supports in my book and in the speaking world, and yeah, still a big part of my life.
It's awesome. Good for you. What's the funnest gig you've ever had in any, all of your iterations, drummer, actor, keynote speaker? What's the most rewarding gig you've ever had?
Probably one of the most significant for me was I was invited to go speak at the John Maxwell Live to Lead event.
Mm.
And that was kind of like the hallmark event in my speaking bucket list, if you will. Um, John has always been a huge influence in my life. I love his stuff. I love his work. I love who he is. I love his mission. And yeah, I'll never forget the day I got the call from him, and he wanted me to come and speak and perform. And I'll never forget after I ended my performance there, looking down and everybody standing up, getting a standing ovation, and there in the front row was John Maxwell, and just looking at me, and he's just saying, "I'm so proud. I'm so proud."
Oh,
And it was just like,
I've got
I
goosebumps.
I cannot believe I am like witnessing this right now. Like this is a truly a surreal moment for me. So I'll never forget that. It was
Good
really,
for you.
yeah, really powerful.
Well, hey, you've made an impact on a lot of people. And I think you're going to make an impact for a lot more years. And I am so grateful that I have met you and you are now in my life. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be in my life for a long time now.
I'm in. I'm in. I'm committed.
I'm in too.
Love it.
So we have a lot more to talk about, I'm sure, but I want to respect our time. My guest today has been Clint Pulver. Clint, if people want to get in touch with you, hire you, be with you, how would they go about doing that?
Oh, that's kind of you to say that. They can go to clintpulver.com is the website, and then I'm on all the social media accounts as well.
Great. Thank you for spending time with me today. I have enjoyed every single minute.
Yeah, truly an honor, Kathleen. Thanks for your friendship, your kindness, and the good that you do in the world as well. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine, Clint. And that's a wrap of another episode of Dare to Care in the Workplace. I hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, make sure you take a second to subscribe so you automatically get my new shows when they drop. Also, if you have a minute, I'd love if you'd left me a review so more folks like yourself can discover the show. Until we meet again.
This has been Dare to Care in the Workplace. To connect with Kathleen, go to KathleenQuinnBotaw.com. Kathleen's book, Dare to Care, is available wherever books are sold. Dare to Care in the Workplace is a production of Forbes Books.